back to the channel. Today we're getting our maple syrup evaporator pans washed and prepped for the boiling season, as well as running some sap through the RO, collecting, and getting firewood ready because we didn't get any of that ready for this season. So these are our maple syrup evaporator pans, and they're custom made stainless steel to fit our homemade evaporator that we use to boil our maple syrup down. And we clean them at the end of every season, and then we end up putting them upside down on top of the evaporator for the summer, fall, winter. So we always make sure before we start our boil every season to wash them again. So we're down here in a part of our yard where we have a lot of wood that is not hardwood that we keep for our wood stove for burning. So a lot of it is stuff that we bring home from jobs that we don't really want anything to do with, and we end up trying to either get rid of it as campfire wood or we use it for the maple syrup burner. So we had to move our snowmobiles because we keep chasing the remaining snow in our property around, and we haven't put our snowmobiles away yet because we are still ice fishing. But I think the ice is finally starting to get a little bit sketchy, and we just don't want to move them up to the main driveway yet because it's a mud pit. So we just keep looking for snow, parking them. So now it's in the way of us doing firewood. I'm not gonna lie, we're not very prepared this year, and this is probably the worst year to start a YouTube channel to show us doing maple syrup. But it is what it is. We had a busy work season, and we also worked a lot of the winter, which normally we don't actually because we try to run a seasonal operation. And just Mother Nature did not know what to do this year. And we had a really unseasonably mild Canadian winter here. Not a lot of snow, not a lot of ice. So we actually were working for a lot of it. So here we are struggling to do firewood for our syrup. This is a pine that we took down last summer that was struck by lightning, and the entire tree ended up dying. So when we took it down, it was completely dead. So it's been baking here in the sun all summer. It has no bark on it. So by the time we cut and split it, it's probably pretty good. The weather here is so nuts. I have to wear ice cleats right now to walk down my driveway because it's solid ice. And I literally wouldn't be able to walk right now if I wasn't wearing them. Now I'm walking across a patch that is just mud and gravel. And then down where we're going to be doing the firewood, I bet you it's a mud pit. This is a little bit of a nightmare and not ideal for this season, but you know what? It'll work out in the end, I hope. So we've done quite a bit today, and that's the lightning struck white pine. So pretty dry and easy to split. We're gonna go check some of our pails because we haven't emptied them today, and I'm assuming that a lot of them are gonna be full based on the temperatures we had today. So we're gonna go do that, and then tomorrow if we're able to boil, we'll just keep working at the firewood. Very gloomy day today. We had very, very frigid temperatures earlier this week, and everything's still kind of thawing. And then we've also had rain. So, not a whole lot going on yet. Not enough that's worth going around with the tractor and emptying. So we'll just wait until we get more. This one's not bad. We got probably a half of a pail. A little under half. But ice. So this is some of our hardwood. That's all oak, and that's mixed hardwood: beech, maple, birch, ash. This is all softwood: pine, spruce, poplar, cedar. It's mostly white pine. Some's like rough shape, not good saw logs. Some of that poplar is hollow, and then all those up there are saw logs for milling. Now, if you're watching from somewhere like Alaska right now, or a state or province where there's no hardwood available, you're probably screaming at us right now. But the reality of Ontario and a lot of Canada is that hardwood is just so abundant that we really don't burn softwood in our wood stoves. It's just, we don't need to. We don't burn high creosote woods in our wood stoves because we just have so much hardwood available, and really it's all people burn here. So unfortunately, yes, this could be usable wood. If you live somewhere in Alaska, this would be like a gold mine of wood right now. But to us, it sounds so terrible to say it, but it's just like, it's garbage to us. I don't want to say garbage is a strong word, but especially to us, because our job is cutting trees and we come home with so much of this, like it's completely overwhelming to us. This is garbage to us because we can't even keep up with it. And we can't even around here find people that want this. We actually offer to dump softwood for free to anybody who wants it that lives nearby. If we're doing a job and somebody is interested in softwood, we will just bring it to them and dump it for them for free. Literally, because we're just trying to get rid of it. And 9 times out of 10, nobody wants it. So it comes home with us. So this is not even a year's worth. This is like, I don't even know. It's like a summer's worth of softwood that we haven't processed yet. But we will use as much as we can for campfires for ourselves, which we don't have a ton of. Like when we have free time or a weekend with some friends or something, we'll have a campfire. And then we'll process as much as we can of like good, dry, straight stuff for our maple syrup evaporator. Now this one is overflowing, but it's frozen solid. Now there's a big debate on whether or not to keep frozen sap because sugar and water separates when it freezes. So people argue that there's not a lot of sugar in the frozen stuff and to just dump it. But because we have an RO system, I think it makes sense to just keep it, run it through the RO, and pull as much sugar as we can out of it.
I go by, sometimes in the mornings there'll be icicles hanging off of the taps, and those are frozen and they still taste sweet, so there's got to be sugar in it.
So this is sap that has not been run through the RO. And as you can see, most of it is ice. And then what's in this pail is sap that we have already run through the RO system. And John has emptied a lot of it. And it's kind of weird, but it melted kind of all in the middle.
Well,
and
all the way through.
He's just pulling what's in the middle. And then, I don't know. It's debatable what's in this ice. But because it's been run through an RO, it should have quite a bit of sugar content in it. All right, so the date is, what's the date today? March 3rd, 2nd? 2nd, I think. March 2nd, 2024. I just like to remember what the day is that we first start boiling because it changes every year. And it's just interesting to keep track of. But we had our first mishap so far this morning. We started the fire in the evaporator, and then our chimney just started like launching little rust flecks off of it, and it went into the sap that we had just filled the pan with. So we had to drain and filter all of that again. And now we're just washing the pan, scrubbing the chimney down, and then we're gonna basically start boiling again. It never boiled, we had just basically started, but yeah, the things you learn.
When I put the pans on this time and start adding sap, I'll make sure the taps are closed on like this morning if anybody caught that.
So this is the future location of our want-to-be sugar shack, which we, in reality, we bought the steel for it like 2 years ago now, thinking that we would have it built by now, and we haven't. Every year we seem to just boil outside of the shipping container, and nothing's really progressed, maybe a little bit every year. This summer or last fall, when was it? We had some work done on the property, and we had a concrete truck come. And before he left, there was some left over, so we convinced him to bring it up here. And we poured a pad for the evaporator. And when I say pad, it was like there was no form or anything poured. We just sort of threw all the concrete in a blob and then tried to level it the best we could. So
looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's actually pretty level. And so this is our homemade evaporator. And it's just an old oil tank that you would see inside of a home, and it's cut in half, and then it's lined with fire brick, and then basically it just has a door on the front to load and a chimney, and then our pans are made to fit right on top. So as much as we would love to build like a freestanding sugar shack fully enclosed, we just have always had the shipping container just kind of sitting here, and it's really ugly. So we thought we might as well build off of it. So we're going to paint it in the spring, and we're going to build just sort of a lean-to off of it. So it's not going to be a fully enclosed sugar shack, but it's going to have a steel roof and then probably sidewalls as a wind buffer. And it'll just be a heck of a lot nicer than what we're doing now. And then off the back here, we've just sort of cleared an area, but then of course we hit Canadian Shield right here, so there is a ridge. But we're going to create a little lean-to off this side as well to store all of our cut and split and ready to burn firewood for every syrup season. All right, so we've got our first boil down on of the year going. Now this batch was run through a reverse osmosis system, and this is our very first year using an RO, and it's supposed to pull approximately 60% of the water out of the sap, so it's going to cut down on a lot of boil time. It's going to save us a lot of firewood, and basically a lot of time.
Normally it takes us, I might hear at 6 in the morning, it takes us anywhere from 12 to 15 hours to get a full batch boiled down up here, then brought down to the house, finished down there, and then jarred and filtered and filtered and filtered.
So we're excited to see how this goes. This is totally new to us, this RO system, and we're just excited to save some time because the amount of taps we do, and then the fact that we have a homemade evaporator system means that we can only boil so fast, and it takes a lot of time to get the water out of the sap. And like John said, most days we're pulling 15, 16-hour days just trying to bottle, you know, like 6 liters maybe.
6 liters a day if I boil up here and add till 2 o'clock, and then I let everything boil down till I can get it to a finishing pot. So that usually finishes about 6 o'clock at night, and then we bring it down and then boil it to its finished temperature down there.
It's a long night. It's usually we're bottling at like 10:30, 11 at night. So we basically pulled 16 hours to bottle like 6 liters of syrup. So this is going to be worth it. And that is why they call this liquid gold. And I believe it, because we joke that we make like 15 cents an hour if we sold our syrup, or overestimating. It's probably like we make like a cent an hour, because it takes 40 liters of sap to make 1 liter of finished syrup. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It takes a ton of collecting just to create a finished product, but it's really fun, it's really rewarding, and it's a hobby that we enjoy. It's also a really fun social aspect of it as well. It's the time of year when neighbors can come by. We'll set up chairs. It'll be a lot better once this is finished, because we'll be able to hang out with friends and family. The dogs really enjoy the extra time outside with us this time of year before we go back to work. Also, we brought our old outhouse up here, and this is the middle of our driveway, so hopefully nobody has actually used this. We plan to put it kind of near the sugar shack so that when people are hanging out, they have somewhere to use the washroom. Also, believe it or not, this used to be our washroom. We've only had a septic system for just over a year now, and my entire life, this was our bathroom. We had an outdoor shower and absolutely no indoor flushing toilet or shower, just a sink. So we decided to keep this just to, you know, remind ourselves of the good times, never forget the past. And also, I don't know, it'd be kind of sad to get rid of this little shack. We've been using this for, well, not this particular one, because we've had this property for probably like close to 60 something years, but I mean, this has existed at least my entire life. Also, nothing can really ever go wrong with an outhouse, and I'm sorry, but I don't fully trust septic systems, especially in the winter time. So it's good to have it as an emergency backup as well. Well, we got a full rolling boil going, which is pretty sweet, and quite a bit of foam already on the surface, which we skim off as we go. I find that the foam really collects like a lot of just debris or stuff that didn't come through the filtering, like dirt, etc. Or maybe because the fact that we're outside, stuff falls in. So I find the foam really picks it up, and then you just sort of skim it off as it goes. So this front pan is what we call the finishing pan, but it's not really what we end up finishing our sap in. What we use it for right now is just preheating some more sap, so that when this does get down, we'll add this to that and just basically just continue boiling down until we have a decent sized batch. All right, so stuff gets away from me sometimes, but we managed to get the boil down today to the finished pan, and then we have filtered it through a pre-filter into this stock pot, and from here, this is where we are going to finish it indoors until we get the final tuning done to bottle. So we're checking our finished syrup with what's called a refractometer, and this is one of the most common tools that you can use to check your sugar content of your syrup to make sure that you didn't overboil it or don't have too much moisture still in it. I really doubt you'll be able to see that, but if you look through it, there'll be a blue line, and you're looking for between 66 and 66.9 bricks. So there's multiple tools that you can use to check, but this is by far the easiest and least messy tool, and you can get it on Amazon for pretty affordable price. I think we paid around $35 or $40 for this. So you have to be careful when you order one, because they come for different substances. So there's ones that you use to check honey, olive oil, and things like maple syrup. So this one has a high enough Brix rating on it to check maple syrup. So basically what you do is you open it and you take a few drops of syrup and you put it on this viewing piece, and then you push this down and you look through. And there you'll see the blue line should line up with 66 Brix. So this is a homemade stand that we made, and it holds our filters. So we're doing 3 pre-filters inside of an Orlon filter. And this year we're trying a 1 micron Orlon filter because last year we had problem with filtering. All right, so inside of all these pre-filters and the Orlon filter, you'll see what it's filtered out. So this is like a combination of sugar sand, any debris that could still be in the sap, the foam, and of course just whatever is cooled down and hasn't run through the filter. Also, we made sure not to filter this hot right off the stove. What we do is we wait until it cools down between 185 and 190 Fahrenheit, because anything above 190 and your sap will start to create sugar sand, also known as niter. And sugar sand will continue to form if you also bottle it too hot. So we do not bottle it above 185, usually 180. Finally have some warm weather today and we have sunshine. So this app hasn't really been running that well the last couple days. Right, it's 17 degrees Celsius out today is our high of the day, and in my opinion that is almost too warm. So what we're going to do is run around and empty all of our pails. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon right now, and we were lucky and we finished a small job today at work, and we were able to come home and empty these pails before we run the risk of the sap spoiling. In these temperatures, if your sap is not kept cool and like approximately a refrigerated temperature, you run the risk of it spoiling. And you'll know it's spoiled if it goes cloudy or it smells off. And with this stuff being liquid gold, you don't want that to happen because it's just devastating. So we're lucky that we caught this in time, and we're gonna go empty everything. Well, 1 full barrel, and we're not even finished. Almost finished.
Oh, half a dozen more.
We're almost finished emptying our pails today. We filled an entire barrel. I can't remember if these are 45 gallons or 55 gallons. And then we're starting to fill up the other one as well. Well, we finished emptying all of our pails today, and we've got a full barrel and like a half of another one. So we don't have any electricity up at the burner where we do our syrup boiling. So to run the RO system, we have to bring all the sap down with the tractor, which thankfully we have the tractor. And then we can plug the RO system into electricity. And I want to say hydro, and then I've been told that like in the States and stuff, they don't call it hydro. We say hydro here.
We say hydro because Ontario gets most of our power from waterways, rivers, dams.
So what does the States, they say hydro?
I think they say utilities or
power
company. But
if you're talking about electricity, we wouldn't say electricity, we say hydro.
the main company in the area too is called Hydro One, so everybody just goes to Hydro.
Yeah, but if we were saying like, oh, I need hydro to plug the RO in, people would be like, you need water?
Yeah. Just starting up our RO system. That's the permeate, the water that comes out after doing the sap. Before I run new sap through it, I always wash it when I'm done, and then I wash it before I start again. My second filter's right here. Sorry. So I always put that in after I've washed and rinsed it again. I'll put another filter in it. I'll run at least 2 pails through just to make sure everything's coming out clear before I start running all the sap through. This is the sap we've collected. The yellow line goes in, that's our intake. This is where the RO sap goes into for the boiler. This is where the permeate, the water, it comes out of the sap, goes in. It's good for cleaning the equipment. So I set everything up, fire on the machine, and it runs at 100 psi. So I just got to adjust the intake screw or the outtake screw here to hold the pressure in the machine. Much, so I'll loosen it off a bit. There we go. 100 psi is right there, so sitting perfect.
So in this clip, you're watching John prepare our pans for another day of boiling, and all he's using is a sponge and the reverse osmosis water, which is all the water that was pulled through that machine that we used with the sap. And what you're left with is RO water. So it's essentially distilled water. So it's fantastic for cleaning things with. You can use it for anything in your household. And it has zero hard water in it because there's no trace minerals left. You're just left with reverse osmosis water. So this is just him preparing for another day.